per the plan. Training methodology. This is about orientation. Orientation means the content of our syllabus. So training methodology में क्या क्या है, कितना units है, हर unit में क्या क्या चीज होता है. So all these things we will discuss today. And almost all are having CITS, all the CITS trainees are having reference book. निमी से book मिला आप लोगों को, हिंदी version और English version सभी लोगों को मिला. So I hope everybody will go through the book, and whenever you have any doubt, any clarification required, you can mark the page number and you can ask me anytime, or whenever we are in this type of meeting, you can ask me. And after this session, you can go through the book. It will be very much interesting for you, because we are going to analyze the complete syllabus of the training methodology. This is orientation. So let me start the program. People are coming, so I'm just admitting. So, in CITS craft instructor training scheme, the main objective of the craft instructor training scheme is to impart training in training methodology, and to demonstrate the skills required to become as an instructor. The person want to become an instructor, what are the skills required for him, for the individual, him or her. So starting from communication skills and presentation skills, planning skills, visual aids preparation skills, all so many skills are required. So let us see one by this is common for all the CITS, and we have already discussed NSQF, Skill Qualifying Framework. Our syllabus, all entire CITS are based on, and also the system, the methodology, importing the training program, and conducting the test, final grade test, evaluation procedure. We are following NSQF system. So everyone have a basic idea about NSQF, because almost all the training officers or section in charges of CA attended NF training program, which has been conducted at the Central Staff Training Research in Kolkata. And they might have shared, definitely they might have shared their experience and what is NSQF, why NSQF is required, the aim and objectives of NSQF, and all. Even though you have that, let us see a brief introduction about a National Skill Qualification Framework. It is a competency-based framework that organizes all qualifications according to a series of levels of knowledge, skill, and aptitude. See, 20-30 years before, we used syllabus, that is input-based syllabus.
1 second. Sir, your meeting is up in my dashboard. 1 second, sir. Did you receive an email?
Yeah, you can see the PowerPoint presentation, madam.
Yes.
You are seeing my laptop. Yeah, I mean, you are seeing my screen. PPT. Hello.
On. 1 second.
Madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any problem?
Yes, sir. We can see the presentation.
Yeah. Yeah. Shall I continue, madam? Hello.
continue.
Shall I continue? No problem. No? You can see the visual and audio both.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are here to, gain knowledge about training methodology syllabus, how many units are there, and each and every unit or content. That is the orientation which I have planned today. And next classes, every unit we will detailedly discuss about the individual units. So before starting this training methodology particular units, let me brief about National Skill Qualification Framework, because our syllabus CITS or CTS syllabus are based on National Skill Qualification Framework. So there are so many levels from 1 to 10, and all CTS courses are coming under level 4 and 5. 1 year courses are level 4 and 2 year courses are level 5, and all the CITS courses are level 6. So this National Skill Qualification Framework is a competency-based framework that organizes all qualification according to a series of levels of knowledge, skill, and aptitude. See, 20-30 years before you used to get syllabus and impart training. Those syllabus are input-based syllabus. After getting the syllabus, we have to analyze the syllabus and we have to prepare lesson plan, we have to prepare notes of lesson, and we have to teach to the trainees. Now it is output-based syllabus. That means everything is available, readily available. The content and the method, how to present it, and systematically how to evaluate it, periodically assessing the trainees' performance. Everything is available with us. That is why it is called as output-based curriculum. So many developed countries, they are following like that. We are also following this system. So through the National Policy on Skill Development 2009, India recognized the need for the development of a national qualification framework that would transcend both general education and vocational education and training. On 19th December 2013, Cabinet notified the framework. It is therefore nationally integrated education and competency-based skill framework that will provide for multiple pathways, horizontal as well as vertical, both within vocational education and vocational training, and among vocational education, training, general education, and technical education, thus linking one level of learning to another higher level. So the important point in this, information is a person who is doing ITI can do collegiate education, that is BA, BCom, also he can do. Previously ITI certified person can go to only polytechnic, then engineering colleges. He can't afford BCom, MCom or MBA courses. But now this vertical and horizontal means a person who is doing ITI, then he can also go to other science or arts stream of education. Even those people who is doing science and arts can also come to this technical education, vice versa. So this is one of the important advantages of NSQF framework. So this is about a brief introduction. You again, you please go through the training methodology book. You will have an idea. And even if you have any problem, any doubts, you can mark the page number and we will discuss again. So let us go to the syllabus. So this training methodology syllabus has 14 units. And the first unit is role and responsibilities of an instructor. Second unit is psychology of learning. And the third one is analysis of syllabus and course construction. Fourth one is planning for instruction and skill practice. Then instructional technology and facilitate learning. Then written instructional materials, then assessment and certification, test and evaluation, its importance. And the 8th unit is organization and management of instructional functions, and counseling and mentoring, entrepreneurship development, ICT and internet, distance learning program. The 12th unit is interpret NSQF and QP, principles of adult learning. The 14th, that is the last unit, is prepare for continuing professional development. So if you go through the content of the units, or if you read the, all the units, you can find every unit has, link with each other. That is the, specialty of this, newly developed syllabus. And so let us discuss about each and every unit. Most of you, might have gone through the, your teachers might have taken the classes. Most of the units might have completed. So for them, it will be like a revision. Who has, not attended the classes, it may be a new class for you. Doesn't matter. Today we are discussing all the units one by one. So let us see first unit, the content of the first unit is the role and responsibility of an instructor. In that, important lessons which are covered, DGT, Director General of Training, skill development programs. There are so many skill development programs are being, run by our department, Director General of Training, and about that information. And then the difference between education and vocational training, then principles of vocational training, characteristics of good instruction, common defects in instruction, qualities, personality traits of an instructor, responsibilities of an instructor. So these are the important, lessons which are being covered in the first chapter. So as I told you, every unit one day we will discuss detailedly, interestingly, with so many visual aids, even some film shows also I have. So we will discuss each and every unit separately. Today we are here to just to discuss about the entire syllabus of training methodology. So we have seen the first unit. Then the second unit is psychology of learning. In that, see, psychology is very important because psychology, the basic definition of psychology itself, it is a art as well as a science of human and animal behavior. So as a teacher or as an instructor, we must know the, or we must understand the psychology of the learners. So all learners will not have, same learning capacity or learning tendency. Somebody may be a fast learner, somebody may be an average learner, somebody may be a slow learner. So we have to manage those all type of learners, and whenever required, we have to motivate the learners, according to their requirement. That is why psychology is included in our training methodology syllabus. So in the psychology of learning unit, what are the important lessons covered? First one, developmental psychology. The definition of psychology, what are the types of psychology, then how individual, mentally developing, those, points are covered in that. Then psychology of learning, what is psychology and why it is important for a teacher as well as the learner. Those informations are covered. Then very important theories of learning process. See, some psychologists conducted experiments with so many animals. So according to the nature of the animal and according to the behavior of the animal, and that also same principle can be applied for the learners or human being. This is the findings of the psychologist. For example, Pavlov is a Russian physiologist, by profession he is a doctor, and he has conducted experiment with a dog. So his experiment is called as conditioned stimulus response theory. The more the stimulus, the more will be the response, and vice versa. The more will be the more the response, the more will be the stimulus. That is his theory. So we have to create interest. Stimulus means what? Stimulus means creating interest. Act of creating interest is stimulus. So we have to create interest, gain the attention of the trainees. He has conducted experiment with the dog. His findings are very much helpful for, solving psychological problems among the individuals. So his theory is, Pavlov's theory is conditioned stimulus response theory. And Thorndike is one American. he has conducted experiment with the cat. So his theory also very much useful, trial and error method. So this, as I told you, every unit detailedly we will discuss. I have like this. I have prepared PowerPoint presentations with visuals, even films also there. Very interestingly, you will understand. Though you have a very good reference book published by NIMI, and you also all of you got received the book, and you please go through that. You will get very good knowledge from that. So Thandik series conducted with cat, trial and error, and Kohler is German psychologist. He has conducted experiment with chimpanzee. So his theory is called theory of insight learning theory. Insight is knowledge. So insight learning theory is Kohler's theory, and Skinner also on behavioral scientist. So he also conducted experiments related to educational psychology. So these kind of theories of learning, these kind of experiments conducted by so many psychologists and educationists, it is useful for our educational and training environment. In what way it will help those informations are available in the second chapter, second unit. So it is very easy to understand with the pictures also there. You can go through the book, and again we will discuss each and every unit while we are discussing this theories of learning process also. Detailedly we will discuss. Then next lesson is individual differences, motivation, Maslow's theories of motivation, and all covered. So Maslow is a person who has conducted a lot of researches on human motivation and personality. So his theory also very much important for our teaching learning process. And of course, motivation is very important. Motivation is nothing but creating willingness to learn. So any learner will think, why I should learn this? What is the benefit of this? He will think. So when we teach the lesson, if we tell the purpose of learning, importance of the lesson, the learner definitely will get motivated. That is why motivation is very important to learn. And individual differences. There are so many, slow learners, fast learners, and medium type of learners. We can ask by simple questions whether they have understood the subject or not. If they have not understood, then again we can make them to understand by telling with practical examples or any visuals through any films or pictorial representations, so that he will easily understand. So we can find the problems, analyze their problems in learning situation. As per their requirement, we can motivate the learners. So for all this purpose, these theories and motivation theories and psychologist theories are included in our second unit. Then assessment of prior learning to identify strength and weakness of the trainees. See, before starting the course or first week, see, all our CITS trainees, you will become as an instructor one day. So when you go to your class, first class, you may see so many faces, new faces. So that time somebody may have basic idea about the trade, and somebody may not have any idea about the trade. All will have, only thing they will have is interest. All with interest they would have joined your trade. So people who have some basic knowledge may show interest and may answer to your questions time to time. So people do not have any basic knowledge about a particular subject or trade, may not respond properly. So you have to analyze who has the prior knowledge about the subject, who has basic knowledge, and who do not have any knowledge about the subject, so that you can impart training in such a way that who don't have any basic knowledge also will have interest, and interestingly continue the trade without discontinuation. So we find the people, suppose in a trade 20 trainees are joining, so we can find some people will discontinue with various reasons. So sometimes they may not understand the subject, or they don't like to come to the training program. So we have to find such people. In the beginning, it happens in almost all the training institutions. So we have to find the individual differences. Accordingly, we have to motivate them. So this is very useful course, job oriented course. Once you complete this, you will get job opportunities in so many industries. Even you can also start your own business. Like that, if you motivate, and we are also giving placement opportunities. Like that, if you motivate them, then they will have interest and they will continue the course. So in assessing the individual difference is very important. Motivating them also very much important. And that ways their strength and weakness we can understand by interacting with them in the beginning itself. Then transaction analysis also there. Every individual will be having so many maturity level. One will behave like a childish behavior, one will behave like a matured youth, or one can behave like a matured person. So all these kind of individual differences one person will have. So that to analyze that, that only, this transaction analysis is included in this psychology of learning. One Dr. Eric Berne is a person's name, one scientist name. He has introduced this theory to analyze the individual's differences wherever required. Suppose one person is very childish and not serious enough, means we can motivate them, see, by telling the importance of education or training. So that they can be a good learner and complete the course in a successful manner to get the job. So these are the important lessons covered under psychology of learning chapter. So let us go to the next unit. The next unit is analysis of syllabus and course construction. So in this chapter, you see every trade in charge, maybe a vocational instructor or a junior training officer or a training officer, whomever it may be, will have a syllabus. So after getting the syllabus, syllabus is the content. What are the knowledge and skill has to be imparted to the trainees, and the duration of time also will be there in the specific week or monthly timetable he or she has to make, and within that particular duration time periodically they have to complete it. So for that purpose, analysis of syllabus is very important. And also some portions may be very easy, some portions may be difficult to understand. So we have to teach simple to complex. First, in the beginning, we have to tell the safety precautions of the trade. What are the tools and equipments will be used in the trade, and how you have to approach the practical exercises. So when handling with the hazardous material or power equipments or any equipment, when you are handling, safety is very important. So you begin with the safety and tools and equipments available in your trade. So if you start one by one, they will understand, for this one, for this purpose, this tool, for this exercise is for this purpose, like that. Then you start simple lessons. Our syllabus itself developed by considering simple to complex approach only. So you, in that approach, you can take the lesson, theory and practical one by one. So formation of a syllabus is not the responsibility of a teacher, because the syllabus is formed by a department called CSTAR, Central Staff Training Research Institute. It has experts invited from various organizations, government, state government, central government, state government, and also industries establishments. So by considering the need of an industry, they will form the syllabus, and as a teacher we will get the syllabus, prepared syllabus based on the NSQF. Already all the syllabus are there for all the trades under DGT. So we can get the syllabus even online itself from system, we can get it. We can take printout of that. Then we can analyze the syllabus. We can just go through that. What is the content of that? You have the subject knowledge. You have completed your ITA course, or maybe some of you might, can do diploma course. So you have the subject knowledge about your branch or trade. Now you have to impart a training of a particular trade. You may be a vocational instructor for garment, dressmaking trade. You may be a vocational instructor for a computer operator and programming assistant trade, or welder trade, fitter trade, or whatever trade may be. So you have to see the syllabus, because your qualification is different. This is ITA level. So your knowledge and skill has to, your approach has to be benefited for the ITA past ITA trainees. They have completed 10th standard, so their level and language which they understand. Our syllabus and methodology and system of education is English and Hindi. But while imparting training in ITIs, most of the state government ITIs are imparting their regional languages. They can speak in regional languages. They can make them to understand in their regional languages. And of course, English is very important. We have employability skill subject there. Invariably, everybody should learn English, functional grammar, and develop their communication skills. So apart from the regional language background, an instructor has to give importance for English also, English and Hindi. So formation of syllabus, writing learning objectives, breakup of syllabus is the first lesson under the third unit. And writing learning objectives. Learning objectives are very important, because when you prepare a lesson plan or demonstration plan, according to the objectives only you will impart the class. Objectives are intended outcome, that is a learning outcome. Objectives are very important, because how long you will teach is based on your objectives. So your class should not be too long and also too short. It may be 20 minutes or 30 minutes or maximum 40 minutes. If you can't teach for a long time, because as per the theory of psychology, learner will understand up to 20 minutes very interestingly. So his rate of learning will be for 20 minutes 100%. Then gradually it will decrease, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, it will gradually decreases. That's why a theory class should be for a minimum 2 to 4 objectives. So objectives are what, after teaching of the lesson, what the learner will be able to achieve, the achievements, whatever subject you are teaching, PageMaker you are teaching for, suppose you may be a DTPO instructor, you are teaching PageMaker means you define what is PageMaker, what are the tools are available in the PageMaker.
Sir? Sir? Sir, we cannot hear anything. Sir, are you able to hear us?
Sorry for the inconvenience. I hope you are seeing the screen.
Still sharing actually.
Yeah, some problem with the network.
Now we see
So
training methodology.
yes, madam. So we were discussing about the third chapter, that is analysis of syllabus and course construction. Then the fourth chapter is planning for instruction and skill practice. So this is one of the important chapters of our training methodology syllabus, because planning is very important before starting any work. All will agree that. So planning for instruction and skill practice, so many important lessons are covered, starting from Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives, phases, steps in imparting skills, questioning and questioning techniques, lesson plan, demonstration plan, and delivery techniques. These are the 5 important lessons covered in planning and for instruction and skill practice chapter. See here, Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives are included because Bloom is a person's name. In 1956, he and his colleagues started one taxonomy of educational objectives. His team derived a conclusion that human development is based on 3 types of domains. Domains means very well, categories. You can say the categories are important elements. So human development is based on 3 domains, that is cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. See why this cognitive, affective, psychomotor is included in our training methodology syllabus, or in what way it will have relationship with our training. Very well, training, the definition of training itself, training is a systematic process which will develop the knowledge, skill, and attitude of the learners. Very well, this is a simple and basic definition of training. It will develop the knowledge, skill, and attitude. Ask to remember easily. I ask my trainees to keep this mnemonym as ask ASK. So A stands for attitude, S stands for skill, and K stands for knowledge. So this knowledge, skill, and attitude is nothing but cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. How cognition? Cognitive is nothing but knowledge. Cognitive, the synonym for cognitive, the meaning for cognitive itself, knowledge-based knowledge. So knowledge is related to cognitive domain. And affective is related to emotional aspects. So emotion, attitude. And skill is related to psychomotor. Neuromuscular activities is skill. So this Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives, which has 3 domains, cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain, is directly related to our training activities, which is we are here to develop the individual's knowledge, skill, and attitude. So that interesting chapter we have. And in that, what is objective? What are the types of objectives? See, general objectives there, specific or instructional objectives there. For example, general objective is CITS trainee. After successful completion of the course, he will become as a competent instructor, or he will be able to conduct the theory and practical classes interestingly. That will be the general objective of the course. That is a course objective. And if you say a specific objective or instructional objective, it will be for the particular lesson. When you start a lesson, it may be Java, or it may be maintenance of sewing machine, or maintenance of computer. So in the particular maintenance of sewing machine subject or a lesson, what the trainees will be able to achieve, that is the instructional objective. First point, the trainee will be able to identify the parts of sewing machine, and the trainee will be able to analyze the problem or causes, remedies. Defects, causes, remedies. These are the 3 important maintenance has been taught in your subject, government sector subject. So defects, he will be able to identify. Causes, he will be able to identify. And most of the problems can be solved. If you can't solve, then you can call for the technician or service engineer. So this is the particular specific objective which is considered as instructional objectives. So we will discuss about what is objective, the intended outcome is objective, and what are the types of objectives, where what is the importance of this, and where it has been used, what is the benefit of this, and all we will discuss detailing in this fourth chapter, fourth unit. Then phases, steps in imparting skills. There are so many phases. Imparting skill, and for lesson plan, we are following 4-step method, that is preparation, presentation, application, and test. And skill learning also, observation, imitation, repetition, and participation. See, when we impart designing or stitching or embroidery work, the person should observe first. So madam is demonstrating how to stitch the garment. Then we will observe how she is stitching, and what are the tools required for that, thread you required, needles you required, and cloth of course you required. And if it is hand embroidery, if it is a machine embroidery, you need a machine for that. Even related to your trade programming means you need a software for that, you need a system for that, and etc. So you have to follow this while imparting skill. There are four types of learning. One is observation, then imitation. Imitation is very important. How she has demonstrated, same way we have to imitate. So by imitation, we can learn. Even psychology also, theory of imitation is there. Monkey and chimpanzees are used for imitation, which has been conducted by Koller. Okay, so we will relate when we discuss the second unit, psychology unit. So, and observation, imitation, repetition. When you repeat again and again, you will become master of that particular skill. The skill may be any skill, cycling, driving two-wheeler, driving four-wheeler, or cooking, or anything, whatever it may be, doing exercises, anything. So, repetition is very important to become masters of the particular trade, and participation also very important. So, observation, imitation, participation, and repetition. Observation, imitation, repetition, and participation. So please go through that fourth chapter with the visuals, so you can find the very good information. And question and questioning techniques. So even yesterday we were discussing about a chapter. There I was telling about questions and various types of questions. Again, I would like to inform you, questioning is not at the end. When we teach a subject, we should not think that finally we will ask questions. It's not like that, because questions are asked in any stage. When you teach a subject, you can ask directly in the beginning. That will be considered as introductory questions. So introductory questions, thought-provoking questions are asked in the beginning stage, that is the preparation stage. Then presentation stage, you can ask developing questions like that. And you can ask at the end, you can ask questions, some type of probing questions. You can ask probing questions. You taught something, then from that information you are asking questions. So probing questions are there. So there are so many types of questions. And when you ask a question, it should be a simple and direct question. There should not be any, vague or confusable informations in a question. So it should be simple and easily understandable by the learner. Whatever information you delivered, whatever subject you taught, from that only you have to ask questions. So these are the important information about question and questioning techniques. We will discuss detailedly about the fourth unit when we have interaction like this. So lesson plan and demo plan is the next lesson in fourth unit. Of course, as an instructor, you have to prepare a lesson plan for theory subject, and you have to prepare a demonstration plan for practical subject. So before teaching, we have to plan how long we are going to teach, 30 minutes or 40 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it may be. For workshop science and calculation, you may have some calculations. You need more time, and you can teach a formula and you ask them how to solve it, and you can ask them to solve it. So you have so many methods to impart theory, practical, and workshop science and calculation subject. So whatever it may be, lesson plan is, very well, lesson plan is defined as a detailed description of a course of instruction for a particular theory subject. So detailed description means what? whatever important things are there, that descriptions are available there. Preparation, what and all there, presentation, what and all, application and test. In preparation stage, you have a title and objectives, your teaching aids, what are the teaching aids required. Then you have to motivate the trainees why the lesson is important, what is the purpose of teaching that lesson. Then review the previous knowledge to the present topic. So these are the important contents of the preparation stage. The presentation stage, whatever objectives you have written in the preparation stage, that you are going to present with the help of visual aids. So thus that information is available in presentation step. And application step, you are asking questions, you are interacting with the trainees, application of knowledge gained by the students is available in the application stage. Then testing stage, you have a summary and asking questions and giving assignments and all. So this lesson plan, demo plan is 2-page format, very simple manner. You can see in the book a simple lesson plan, how to do it, and some model trade related models also there. Even for practical demonstration plans also there in your book. Please go through. Any, as I told you, any doubt you relate to the subject, you mark the page number and you ask. Yesterday afternoon, some of you asked some question bank doubts and all. So like that, you can ask. I'm here to explain you. I can send you mail or messages. Then delivery techniques. So like planning and imparting skill, delivery techniques also there. Depending upon the learners, you can approach the technique, you can use the techniques properly. For our trainees, we are using lesson plan and demonstration plan technique, and everything is covered in this. All these important lessons are covered in the 4th chapter, planning for instruction. Then 5th chapter is instructional technology and facilitate learning. And yesterday we were discussing about this topic only, instructional technology and guidelines for teaching practice. So teaching practice is very important because you have subject knowledge, you have the skill about your subject, about your trade, and how you will transfer the skill to the trainees is very important. And that is the reason you are studying training methodology. So you have knowledge and you have a skill about your trade, about your subject, and that subject knowledge, that trade skill you are transferring to the trainees is very important. That skills and knowledge only you are developing your attitude in the training methodology module. It is a part of CITS. So teaching practice is very important. You have to practice your subject, any topic you decide, and that topic knowledge and skill you have, and you have to teach the subject to the trainees. So you practice for first initially, maybe like micro teaching, 10-15 minutes you practice, you take 2 objectives, then you teach properly. You prepare yourself, prepare well, then you teach. So confidently, that is very important. And teaching practice guidelines, we have discussed yesterday, starting having a proper lesson plan and proper demonstration plan, and beginning with good rapport and motivating the trainees by telling the purpose of learning and using visual aids in appropriate time. Then presentation, having eye contact and asking questions. While asking questions, follow the 3R principle, that is receiving the answer, reward the answer, repeat the answer. So all these things we have discussed. Then we have to continue to the next class. After finishing, you tell, you ask the questions time to time. Every stage you are asking questions. If they are not understanding, you ask the second person. Then you try to solve their problems. That way, you are completing your teaching practice session. And finally, you are telling next class will be this. So those are the guidelines we have discussed yesterday. And group discussion also very important. We can make groups and some title you give and ask them to prepare, then present. So in this way, communication skills will be improved. Then communication chapter is there. What is communication? How to improve communication skills, communication barriers, and all included in this chapter. The different types of teaching learning materials, teaching aids, audio visual aids, audio aid, visual aid, audio visual aids like LCD projector, overhead projector, different types of boards, and all used in this in the chapter. Then Dale's Conniff experience. Dale is one person's name. He has conducted a lot of research and published articles related to audio visual aids. Visual aids or audio visual aids creating interest in learning environment, and it motivates the trainees in a great manner, and they understand very well if they see the visual aids related to any subject. So that is his theory. And like a pyramid, he has a from basic level to advanced level, he has that learning experience. So when we discuss this one about Dale's Conniff experience, we'll discuss detail about that. And visual aids also there. Even you can also go through the book very easily understandable manner. It is explained. Please go through. It is available in Hindi as well as in English. We'll again discuss detail about this particular topic. Then overhead projector, LCD projector. Overhead projector, both the projectors are working under the principles of projection. Principles of projection, you need a lamp and it will reflect on the screen. Overhead projector is working under the principles of indirect projection, and LCD projectors are working under the principles of direct projection. So for LCD projector, you need, most of the projectors, you need computer systems. Nowadays, some LCD projectors are there without computer system. You can use only with the memory card or a pen drive. If you insert, then the LCD projector will display the information, the content of the pen drive can be shown on the screen. So these are the important visual aids coming under this instructional technology chapter. And micro teaching also one part of lesson and part of this this 5th unit. Micro teaching is a concept, and like lesson plan, you teach 30 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes maximum, but micro teaching is only for 5 to 10 12 minutes and maximum 12 minutes, and you have very less number of learners. So maybe not a whole class. So this micro teaching concept is followed for teaching practice sessions or even interview boards. Sometimes in some collegiate education or university assistant professors selection time, they will use this micro teaching approach. They will give you a topic and 5 minutes you teach. That is micro teaching. So that person will teach, that a candidate will teach to these 4 members, where he will consider those interview members, 4 or 5 members will be the learners, and he will plan for 5 minutes topic. The objectives objective also 2 or 3, and he will within that specific time he will complete his demonstration class. Micro teaching is for minimum number of people and very less number of time. So this is about 5th unit. Then 6th unit is written instructional material. Of course, the 5th and 6th unit has a very good link. There we have seen audio visual aids, and here written instructional materials. So written instructional materials are used through audio visual aids. So written instructional material, the name itself we can see, we have to prepare that. An instructor has to prepare those written instructional materials. Some of the materials are readily available in the market. So books are there, reference books also, written instructional material that is published by NIMI or some other publishers. And lesson plan, information sheet, assignment sheet, job sheet, demonstration plan, and all, for examples for written instructional materials. And progress chart also. You are giving tests, written tests or oral test or theory test, practical test, and we are assessing the trainee's performance, and we are giving marks for that, and we can also prepare progress chart. So this progress chart also kind of written instruction material. So this is a simple unit. These are the important points covered in this 6th unit. Then 7th unit is assessment and certification, testing and evaluation. In that unit, see, instructor's job is to teach theory, impart theory knowledge, and demonstrate practical skill. And mere imparting the training is not sufficient for a teacher. Why? Because the success and failure of the program is assessed only through the test. So testing is very important, and assessment, that evaluation is very important. So time to time we have to assess the trainee's performance. So when you teach a theory subject, that time you can ask questions, you can interact with them, whether they are understanding, whether they are following it or not. If it is a practical demonstration, then you can ask them to do that operation. It may be stitching or welding or any fitting operation or any programming. You can ask them. You can ask them to observe. You can demonstrate how to do that. Then you can ask them to imitate. Let them. You can do. You do. Now you repeat it like that. Then finally you ask them to do repeatedly. Then after a week, then you can give like a weekly test. You can give. You can assess their performance, how they are doing like that. So in that way, the trainees also will learn properly because test is there. A teacher will assess us. So we have to give better performance like that. And also healthy competition among the learners. So for this purpose, assessment and certification, testing and evaluation unit is included in our syllabus. And DGT schemes, so many schemes are there for evaluation purpose. And for CTS, one examination is there, CATS, one examination is there, and apprenticeship scheme also examination is there, and that and all covered in the that lesson. Then characteristics of good test. See, test should have a characteristic because while we are assessing the trainees, it should not be so easy one day and the other day it should not be so tough. So by seeing the trainees level and by seeing our system of training or a system of education, then the what way we are going to conduct the test, if it is a written test or oral test, multiple objective type or subjective type, and all, we have to consider some characteristics. See, reliability and validity is important characteristics of a good test. See, a test should be good test means what? A good test means the content of the test and the question items, nature of the question items should be reliable and validity. Reliability means the consistency of the test. Validity is the faithfulness of a test. See, consistency means one place it is easy, the other place it is tough. It should not be like that. So every place the common tough or easy, everything should be equal. That is the consistency of the test. Every time repeatedly and same manner. This is reliability. And validity is what the intent to test should be tested. That is the validity, and also called as faithfulness of a test. See, faithfulness, you know the general meaning for faithfulness. So we are going to conduct a test for what purpose? We are assessing the performance, or we are assessing their knowledge or skill, to what extent they have learned, and what and all they have learned, and how they are producing the result. So that has to be really tested. That is called validity. So reliability and validity are the important characteristics of a good test. That detailing we will study in the 7th unit. Then FESE. FE is formative evaluation, SE is summative evaluation. Formative evaluation is periodical test. Day to day we can conduct test, oral test or written test, weekly test, monthly test, midterm test, and all coming under formative evaluation. Summative evaluation is final trade test. So our department is conducting final trade test. That is
Sir,
summative.
sorry to interrupt here.
Please. Madam.
We just have a few minutes actually to wrap up the class.
Yeah. Over. This is 7 and few more slides only, madam. Few more slides only.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So 5 minutes maximum, sir.
Okay. Sure, madam. Yeah. 5 minutes, yes. Then evaluation of theory and practical tests. Kirkpatrick evaluation model is one model which has to be followed. So we'll detailedly discuss when we discuss the 7th chapter. Then conducting assessments for competence. See, competence is the capacity of an individual after successful completion of the training. So we have to assess everything, which are all covered in the 7th chapter. Then 8th chapter is organization and management of instructional functions. See, institute means, theory classroom, practical classroom, and workshops, labs, and all will be there. Everything has to be managed properly. So housekeeping is very important. So housekeeping, safety, quality concepts, color dynamics, and all covered in this chapter. The very important thing is how to manage properly the functions of the institute and housekeeping, starting from cleanliness, maintenance, before going out of order, after going out of order, are covered in this chapter. And ninth unit is counseling and mentoring. So a teacher is not only for imparting the knowledge and skill, and also a counselor, like a parental approach should be there. Whenever they lack interest and whenever they need motivation, a teacher has to motivate. For that purpose, counseling and mentoring unit is included. And trainees grievances, boosting moral. We have to boost, we have to motivate the trainees whenever required. And self-motivation, importance of self-motivation, strength and weakness, opportunities, threats, and all covered in this counseling and mentoring. Of course, marketing also included in this chapter. So we'll discuss detailedly when we, ninth chapter unit we will discuss. And 10th one, um, 10th chapter is and entrepreneurship development program, because our trainees, all the trainees 100% they may not like to go to an industry to work. Some of them may have interest to become as an entrepreneur, so that chapter is covered. And ICT, information communication technology is covered, and there you can find computer use of applications. And 12th chapter is NSQF. In the first slide we have discussed about that. And principles of adult learning, because we are dealing with teenage learners, so adult learning is very important. And prepare for continuing professional development. This is the final chapter. So after the course, what they will be able to become as entrepreneurs or as a teacher. So continuing the professional development, personal development and professional development. Personal development is for the individual growth, and professional development is their professional job requirement and getting good job, more salary and all. So these are the 14 chapters covered in this